the fruit truck pulled into the right lane, cut over because he needed to make that right. And he started pulling over. And by the time I looked, he was slamming on his brakes. And yeah, I locked up my brakes, tried to get off the bike. And obviously that didn't happen. And yeah, I got my leg caught between my bike and the metal grate on the back of the truck. And
it just
chopped it off right there.
Oh my gosh. It's the Fit for Radio podcast, and I'm your host, Drew Titeman. We are at the Stafford Hills Club, which is a nice little establishment voted the best health and wellness facility in the Portland area, and it's for good reason. When I have guests come in here, the first thing they usually say is, wow, this place is nice. And that's the same thing that happened today with my guest, which I will introduce here in just a second. But if you get a chance to check out StaffordHills.com, it's like a staycation out there at the pool, salt water as well, so you're not going to get a chlorine bath, and you can rock your workout, hit up a burger when the sun shines out. And there's just so much camaraderie and a family atmosphere here at the Stafford Hills Club. And remember, get in where you fit in, because family memberships will fill up and you'll end up on a waiting list. The last thing you want when you want to be tanning yourself right there by the pool. StaffordHills.com. And without further ado, I've been excited to sit down with this guy for a while. He's got a story that I've heard bits and pieces of, but I haven't really had a chance to pull the curtain back on the whole thing. But grew up in a standard issue life like the rest of us, but then an accident changed his life forever. And it's not just about an accident that happens, but it's also about what you do with your circumstances. And I'm so stoked to have you here. Welcome to the show, Ridge Deakman.
Thanks for having me, man.
Yeah, it's great to have you in here. Now, you're born and raised in San Diego, Point Loma.
Yep,
Is that
Point
correct?
Loma, yep.
And I grew up doing the standard kid things, playing sports. Now, when you were a kid, what kind of sports did you play?
All of them. Yeah, but mainly I played baseball and football, but mainly baseball.
And so your whole life, athletics are a big part of it?
Huge part. Yeah, I played sports all the way up until high school and then kind of went a different direction.
Yeah, well,
yeah.
In your notes, you said, had a great time,
Yeah.
So did you do some partying as well?
Yeah, did some partying in my high school and, later teen life, and yeah, just like everybody else, I would imagine. But yeah, we had some fun.
But that was kind of it. It's like if you played your sports, you could still have some fun and the whole deal. Now, after you get out of high school, what are you doing with your time?
Right out of high school, I think we did a lot of partying. Really, really didn't have much direction. The baseball thing, I got hurt, and I was just kind of floating around, kind of doing whatever I wanted to do, trying to figure out what I wanted to do. But, worked odd jobs, did stuff, and decided that I wanted to fix motorcycles for a living.
Okay.
And so I started going down that path of, figuring out how to be a mechanic and work for Harley Davidson and do all of these things, and started riding motorcycles and doing all that stuff. And it kind of just went down that road for a while.
So how do you get into being a motorcycle mechanic? Like, I get that you liked motorcycles, but is there like a school you have to go to, or you just become an apprentice? How does that go?
Yeah, if you want to work like for Harley Davidson, and now I don't know if this is still how it is or if it was like this, but typically most of them you go to MMI in Arizona. I think they have one in like Florida or something like that too. But you go to MMI, they have like a Harley Davidson. It's literally like college, 5 days a week, 7 a.m. to noon. You go in, you work hands-on with all the motorcycles, and you learn pretty much everything. And yeah, you get your degree in being a mechanic, and then you can go work for Harley Davidson. Did it work like that? No.
That's the idea,
yeah,
right?
That's the idea.
Is that you could get there. So do you end up working at other shops or?
Yeah, you can pretty much go, if you want to work specifically for Harley Davidson, you have to go to MMI. And like I said, I don't know if that's like, they still do it that way. I'm sure if you're somebody, you could just go and do whatever you want to do. But as a rookie, not doing it, not really having any, life in the game or anything. I kind of just have to go that route. Um, but yeah, we did the class. We did it in Arizona, and it was in Phoenix, and it was brutal. And this was like right after my accident. I mean, like right after we left to go to Arizona to do that.
So let's back you up
Yeah.
a second because you just skipped over a
Yeah.
major part of your. Oh yeah, no,
Yeah.
this thing like we're not talking about a fender bender. We're
Yeah.
talking about so you don't get into fixing motorcycles till after you got hurt.
Yeah.
Okay, so then let's roll that back a second because you have an accident that changes your life and your trajectory, which is wild that it goes in this order. My mind is blowing right now
Yeah.
because of what happened. So just walk me through what happened to you.
Yeah. So, I mean, I had been riding motorcycles. We rode dirt bikes and stuff like that forever. Um, I had always wanted a Harley, you know what I mean? Wanted to ride, street stuff or whatever. And so we were, fixing stuff. We always like to tinker with things and do stuff. But so I started riding motorcycles. Um, Bought my first one, and then I was living in Santa Cruz at the time, rode it up there, had it in Santa Cruz.
Wind in your hair,
Yeah,
sunshine.
rain in your face.
Okay,
It
that
was
the
cold,
reality?
yeah. I mean,
Okay.
there was obviously, stints of sun, but, it was
Not
Northern
what I'm thinking.
California.
Okay.
Yeah, it was
Okay.
Northern California. It was kinda like it is up here, but yeah, had it here in Santa Cruz, then I moved back home. I did have a stint in a community college that I went to for about 6 hours, and that was that there.
Hmm.
But rode, and then, yeah, just I was working at a restaurant at the time. It was my one day off of the week. I woke up 9 a.m., just hopped on the bike, started going over to one of my buddies' houses, and, yeah, we got in the accident.
What happened?
So I was in Pacific Beach, and I was coming over one of the bridges, and like the middle lane is straight only, left lane is left only, right lane is right. In California, you can split lanes, right? So you can go in between cars. I was in the middle lane. The car, I needed to go right. There was a car, and then a kind of like a big produce truck. You know what I mean? Not
Hmm.
like a U-Haul, but a little bit bigger than a U-Haul. They were in the middle, and so I needed to go right, so I started to split lanes to go into the right lane, and, I had my head kinda turned looking to my right to make sure that there was, like, no cars there, and when I had done that, the semi or whatever, the fruit truck pulled into the right lane, cut over because he needed to make that right.
Mm.
And he started pulling over. And by the time I looked, he was slamming on his brakes. And yeah, I locked up my brakes, tried to get off the bike. And obviously that didn't happen. And yeah, I got my leg caught between my bike and the metal grate on the back of the truck. And
And it just,
yeah, I just chopped it off right there.
oh my gosh.
I got like thrown into the back of the truck. It just kind of like flipped me up, and once I hit my head pretty hard, and I always wore a full face helmet. You know what I mean? Good quality stuff. So I was probably knocked out for like a second or two. You know what I mean? And then
Hmm.
um, woke up or like kind of got up and did the full body check, and of course, right, like it was kind of surreal because I'm in the middle of a bridge and I'm like, God, there's no cars driving past me. Like I was just really confused, you know what I mean? Because I'm
Yeah.
sitting there like, you know, nobody's there. There's
So the
no
guy who hit you, where are they?
He didn't even feel it. He didn't even know what happened. Somebody had to chase him down like 20 miles down the road. Yeah. And was like, hey, you gotta come
There's an
back. And
accident.
yeah. And so he didn't even feel it, just kept
Oh
driving.
my gosh. And
Yeah.
so you're all alone there when you're going feeling for your leg and do you realize it's gone? Are you in shock? What are you doing?
Yeah. Initially, I mean, I did a body check. I was just kind of like, okay, I can move my arms, I can move my legs, like I'm good. And of course, you're kind of in shock, your adrenaline's kind of going.
Yeah.
I took my helmet off and I just kind of like threw it to the side, and I went to go stand up, and that's when I knew. I went to stand up, and as soon as I stood up, I just fell right back to the ground, and I was like, That's probably not great.
So your leg is not on, or is it mangled?
It's mangled. Yeah, it was pretty mangled.
Mhm.
I looked down. I was wearing pants at the time, so when I looked, I lifted up my right leg was fine, and then I lifted up my left leg, and yeah, it was just dangling there for the most part. There was some stuff gone, and
So,
yeah,
and you are probably in shock, but what is like your emotion? Are you angry? Are you scared? Are you sad? Are you confused? Like what?
yeah. I honestly,
All of those?
I felt really calm about it, which was weird. You know what I mean? Like you would think, and I don't even think I looked at it and like really had much of a feeling. I just knew I needed to get out off of the bridge.
Hmm.
And so on the sides of this bridge, they have like walking sidewalks. So I got up and I hopped over to the sidewalk, and it's just like a concrete guardrail.
Yeah.
And I went to go like kind of do a tuck and roll over the over it, and my leg had like gotten kind of caught on the wall
Oh.
and like kind of dragged over, and like immediately I was started feeling pain, and all of those feelings started coming in.
Hmm.
Yeah, and
Like, is it excruciating, or is the adrenaline still there?
it was honestly just really hot. Like, it felt
It
like
was
it was
burning.
burning, yeah, and I mean, like, yes, it hurt, I would imagine, you know what I mean? But I think I was really focused on the whole time I was pretty coherent. I mean, at least I thought that I was pretty coherent.
Hmm.
So when I looked at it, realized it, got over the guardrail, um, I just knew that it was bleeding a lot. And so I knew that I needed to do something about it. So I was wearing a belt. I took my belt off. I don't know if it was doing much, but I
Did you
just
put a tourniquet?
yeah, I tried to hold it as tight as I could for the situation that I was in.
Did you have a cell phone?
Yeah. Yep.
Had
I
you
still
made a
had
phone call?
yeah. So when the first I called my mom was the very first phone call, because I thought that was that. I just was losing blood, and I'm like, what are the odds that this is going to happen? And so I called my mom, and she thought I was joking. She was like, it's probably just broken. And I was like, I think we're a little bit past broken, Ma, And then so she was like, well, have you called the ambulance? And I was like, well, that's going to be my next call. And I just figured somebody had probably saw it and called. Yeah. So called her, called my dad, and kind of had the same
So you
conversation.
called both parents before you called an
Yeah,
ambulance?
pretty much.
Wow.
Yeah, it was,
Uh, I don't
I,
know if I don't know what to call that.
yeah.
We'll call it brave.
Yeah, I don't know. I just figured if this was it, I would rather,
Get the calls in.
get the calls in before,
You,
I called an ambulance,
yeah, fair.
So yeah, and I just remember like once I had made the calls, I called the ambulance, and they were like, yeah, they're already on their way, just kind of hang in there, do what you're doing. And yeah, I just remember like laying up and like just looking, and it was a beautiful day. And I remember sitting on this bridge, just looking up at the sky, like, man, like my one day off, this is happening. It couldn't happen on a work day. And I just remember being like, well, if this is it, like, so be it, I guess, and that was kind of, yeah. And then, so I just laid there waiting.
You had a strange interaction though, right?
Yeah.
So what? There was something else.
So I was laying there, and again, like nobody had really like came. Like like during this, I was just like there by myself, this whole stuff, you know what I mean? I'm assuming people kind of saw what was happening and
Yeah.
probably were like, didn't really feel like going over there.
Hmm.
But yeah, I was just laying there. I had my leg, elevated, whatever, just trying to do what I could. And I saw a lady and a guy jump over the guardrail. And, I'm like, hey, I'm like having a full conversation. And like, I could almost still see like their faces. Like I could almost like recognize them like out of a crowd. And so I'm talking to him, and the guy's like, hey man, you're doing great. Like everything's going to be fine. I get the chills talking about this. Everything's going to be fine. You just keep doing what you're doing. The ambulance is on their way. I'm a doctor. She's a nurse. Like everything is going to be fine. And I was like, okay, cool. Like,
They
we're
got me.
good. Yeah, we're good. And there they go jumping over the guardrail. And so I'm like, oh, they're probably like gonna go get something or whatever. And I remember like getting tired. Like, I started like, feeling like I was gonna nod off. And I
Uh-oh.
just kept being like, don't fall asleep, like, don't fall asleep. And I like kind of felt like I had just fallen asleep, but it was kind of like when you fall asleep when you're like falling and you kind of like wake
The
yourself
jolt.
up. Yeah, that jolt. And next thing I knew, there was like, a bunch of firefighters and ambulances, and they were putting the tourniquet on it, and they got me on the stretcher. And like, then everything kind of came back. Like, I was just right back to everything. And, yeah, so I got in, when they took me into the ambulance and I was like really coherent. Like, I was talking with the people in the ambulance, and they were like, hey, what do you want to do? And, I told them, and I was like, yeah, did you guys talk to the doctor and the nurse? Like, have you guys talked to them? They said it was going to be fine. And the guy was like, what are you talking about, man? And I'm like, there was a guy and a lady that jumped over the guardrail. He was a doctor. He said that she was a nurse, and they just told me I was going to be fine. He kind of looked at everything and said everything was going to be fine. And the guy was like, if there was a doctor and a nurse, like, they would have had to like stay there, I think, like, legally.
They
Like,
wouldn't just jump the
yeah,
railing.
they're not just gonna like hop back in their cars and drive away. And I was like, no, man, I'm almost positive that there was people there. And the guy was like, I mean, like, I'll talk to them, go out or whatever. And so like I'm in the ambulance, they're trying to kind of get me off. And yeah, they when I had got out of the hospital or like in the hospital out of surgery, they had came and they were talking to me, and there was like there was nobody there, man. And so I chalked it up to angels. Somebody just coming saying, hey, you know, I know you're in a bad way. Like, I know you're phasing out, I think, but
It's
you
giving
just,
me goosebumps,
yeah,
dude. Like, because there's that thought that,
yeah,
and I don't know what's real and what's not.
yeah, exactly.
Nobody really does.
Yeah,
But, you know, if there are angels out there and it's the moment to come to you because
yeah,
you probably don't even realize it, but you're nodding off, you're bleeding
yeah,
out. Like
yeah,
you're going, if somebody doesn't get there, you're gonna die.
yeah, exactly.
And if somebody doesn't keep you awake,
Yeah.
you're gonna die probably. And so when you think about that you fell asleep and did the nod off thing, that would have happened earlier.
Yeah, oh, yeah,
And you
for
would have
sure.
likely, there's just so much to be said about
Yeah.
stay awake.
Yeah, well, exactly. And I think that it's when it's funny because like when you're, and I went to a private school growing up. I later on went to public school, but um, it's not. I am not like the most hardcore religious person. Like, I definitely believe that there is something. You know what I mean? But it's funny when you are in a position like that. I don't care what anybody believes in. If you're, right on that edge, everybody prays. You know what
Mhm.
I mean? Because that's your last Hail Mary. You're like, I mean, what are
Oh,
it's a 50-50 chance, right? Like,
yeah, you
like
gotta
you got
lean
yeah,
into.
whatever. You're holding on to basically anything that you can. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? And yeah, there was nobody there. They didn't have anything. They talked to the police. I mean, there was a whole thing about it.
And that's a big point too, is like
Yeah.
their oath or whatever
Yeah.
is like we were gonna stay around, but we're going to
Yeah.
get bagels.
Well,
Like
exactly.
they
Yeah.
don't
And
have
they
to.
didn't touch me. They didn't do anything for me.
They
You know
did,
what I mean?
which makes sense now.
Well, yeah, like I it's gonna sound weird, but it was almost like the guy like crouched down to like give me pound or something. Like, he was like, "Hey, you're gonna be all right." And
Yeah, he
I'm a
pep
doctor
talk.
and a nurse, yeah. And then he just like left.
It's almost like your body knew what it needed.
Yeah.
It needed somebody to tell them
Yeah.
that it's gonna be okay.
Well, and when you're in that, fight or flight or whatever they, want to call it, you hallucinate. There's things that can happen. So, they were like, yeah, we've heard it and seen it, but it was like it felt like a very personal interaction.
And to defend the idea
Yeah.
itself, like because this is what people do is they discount
Yeah.
easily. And so if you're like, well, this miraculous thing happened to
Yeah.
me, and they're like, oh, well, your body releases all these chemicals and that's why that happened.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, you could also just argue that it happens and
Yeah.
then
Yeah,
we're
what did it
using
do?
that as the excuse. So
Yeah.
Whatever it was,
Yeah,
I'm glad that it happened.
yeah,
That part happened because that kept you aware and gave you hope.
yeah.
As
It
you
did,
start to
man.
lose hope,
Yeah, for
then you're in
sure.
big
It
trouble.
got dark there for a second, and
Mhm.
I think that's kinda like the even going forward through it, you know what I mean, is just your mind is a really powerful thing, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
And so if you tell yourself to, and you really dig deep, you can keep going and keep doing it.
And for you, this really turns into a thing that the accident is just the start line, really,
Yeah.
because everything that you're talking about in the mental battle and everything, you're about to go through
Yeah.
a battle that nobody really deals with day to day because, you take away a person's leg
Mhm.
and it changes everything. I mean, I'm going to be honest. You showed me a picture of it, like when you came out of surgery, and it like blew my body back. Now, I'm not the best with gore and all
Yeah.
that stuff, but like, it just I mean, we might have to if you allow it, we'll have to put that up
Oh, yeah.
when this episode comes out, just so people can see
Yeah.
what it is that you endured, and it just is a lot. The Fit for Radio podcast is brought to you in part by Motorsport Hillsboro, where they urge you to ride responsibly, and they've got everything to make your summer pop. And one thing I think you should check out is they have their gas electric bikes, and it's not lost on anyone the fact that gas prices are through the roof. So, how do you beat them? Get yourself an electric bike that are now up to 60% off at Motorsport Hillsboro. They bought up the inventory to make sure that the savings come right back to you. I rode one myself and immediately wanted to pack it in the back of my truck and head home. Check them out today, Motorsport Hillsboro. There's a reason people come from far and wide to shop at Motorsport Hillsboro. So I want to talk about the aftermath a little bit with you, because you have this accident, you go through this traumatic moment. You're basically dealing with the adrenaline of it and everything. And so, the pain that's coming, the realities that are coming, like in the moment there, you're kind of being whisked through the whole thing,
Mhm.
right? So
Yeah.
when you are in the hospital and you wake up from surgery, just walk me through like as like a standard. I mean, you're a standard
Yeah.
dude, and you've waken up and from this nightmare.
Yeah.
And where are you at?
Well, so I mean, when I was in the ambulance initially, I was like really coherent. Like I was having full conversations with them, and they were asking me like, what did I want to do with my leg? You know what I mean? And they knew that it was pretty bad, but I was kind of. They were like, we can either put it together, or because we need to tell them we're gonna have to put you under, so we need to tell them what to do. And I was like, can I keep my knee? And they were like, if they amputate it, and I was like, yeah, like if they cut it off,
Will I have my
will I have my knee? And they were like, oh yeah, for sure. And I go, if I don't cut it off, am I gonna be in surgery for the rest of my life? And the guy was like, yeah, probably. You know what I mean? Pins, rods, I mean, you name it. And I was like, I had known a lot of people that have gone that route, and it wasn't the same, and I was like, I just told them, tell them like they can cut it off. As long as I can keep my knee, tell them to cut it off. And they were like, okay, sounds good. We'll put you under. And so they went to put me under, and the people from the ambulance, they were talking to my parents, like, when this whole thing happened, when we got to the thing, and they're like, "He said to cut it off." And my mom was like, "Don't listen to him." They were
He's
like,
had a long day.
"Yeah, he's had a long day." So they did try to, like, put it back together, and it was not.
Not
Yeah, it
happening.
wasn't happening, so
Was it just shredded or?
yeah, when I looked down at it, I mean, the bones were shattered. My foot was, basically just kind of like dangling because my leg and my foot got caught between like the primary side of my motorcycle, and when it hit, I mean, it's like ceramic, or you know what I mean? It just was like like a razor blade, basically.
Yeah.
And so
Chop.
when it hit, yeah, and then the primary chain and the clutch and all that stuff is spinning right there. So when it hit, it got caught there to a metal grate, and it just kind of mangled it up.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, it was toast. I mean, I just remember seeing like my pinky toe and stuff kind of just dangling, like, on skin. I was just like, yeah, when they say like, when you get hurt, they're always like, don't look at it. You know what I mean?
And you looked at
And
it.
I looked at it, and it started to hurt a lot more. But, but yeah,
I don't even know why I'm laughing because I'm cringing so
I
hard.
know.
Because you showed
Yeah.
me the picture of it.
Well,
Now I'm just
exactly.
like, It's a
Yeah.
lot.
But yeah, anyway, when you wake up from that, you have the surgery. I think I was out for like a day, maybe like a full 24 hours. And yeah, you wake up in a hospital room and I mean, I was by myself, and you wake up, I was on all sorts of medications. So you're getting your bearings, you're trying to lock in and like go, okay, hey, like this happened, you know what I mean? Like, well, okay, I'm still alive, we're good, and you're kind of doing your own body check and you're looking down and it's like kind of like a movie, honestly. You're looking, you're like, okay, I'm good, I got my arms, and you look down and you're like, ah, well, it's gone.
Mhm.
And you're just kind of like, what are we gonna do from here?
So, do you do you get depressed about this straight away, or are you? Because with me, I know
Yeah,
that initially I would be like, why me?
yeah.
Why is this fair? This is unfair.
Yeah, I think for me, and this, some people may say it's not healthy, but I think in these moments, like you really have only one or two ways to like go about this. You know what I mean? Like you either just accept it and just say like, don't do the whole like why me, the pity thing or whatever. Just go like, yeah, this sucks, but what are you gonna do about it? You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And maybe it's not healthy in the long run, mentally, I guess, but
Yeah,
yeah,
but you have to find a way
yeah, you
through,
have to find a way, you know what I mean?
and that's the tough part.
Yeah. So I just kind of looked at it and I mean, the times that were the hardest, I think, were, when it's just you, when you have your friends and you have your family and you have people that care about you and, you're all kind of in this camaraderie of, doing things together and, you have people behind you, you know what I mean? Like it's easier to do
Mhm.
things, you know what I mean? But you get home and it's just you. And you're by yourself in your room and, you're learning and having to like figure out how to live a life without a leg, and all the little things, and you're just, it
Yeah.
gets really difficult.
So did they prep you? I mean, I would guess
Yeah,
they
yeah,
did
yeah.
a little bit, but when you're at home and you're trying to figure out how to say get out of bed or get in
Yeah.
the shower, did anyone teach you that, or is that just like good luck, pal?
Pretty much. Yeah. I was in the hospital for I was in the hospital for 5 days. That was it. So they did the surgery, and then I was at one hospital. They transferred me to another hospital, which was brutal. There was like no room at the inn, basically, and so they put me in like an overflow room for pregnant women. And
Mm.
so, and if there was no air conditioner in my room, and the room was like a tuna can, it was brutal. And then my mom came and saw it until we got transferred to another thing. And then Super Bowl, it was that Super Bowl weekend. So I was in my hospital bed. All my friends were there. They all came over to watch the Super Bowl in the room. But yeah, basically they take you out. They get you like a compression fitting to kind of like shrink your leg down because it's obviously really swollen.
Because what I saw was a
Yeah.
massive end of your leg.
Yep. Yeah. So when they cut it off, they basically cut it to your calf muscle and then they take your calf and kind of like wrap around, or at least that's how my surgeon did it.
A little burrito mode.
Yeah, exactly. And to give you some cushion, you know what I mean, for
Yeah.
eventually when you get your prosthetic leg. But it's like huge. And
It's all
so,
flared at
yeah, it's
first.
like super flared. Yeah. I mean, it looks like a catfish, honestly, some
Mhm.
stitches and stuff like that. But they have to compression wrap it to kind of get all that fluid out.
Mhm.
That was the worst pain I have ever gone through in my entire life. It was 10 times worse than losing it or any of that. Because you're just there, right?
Yeah.
No adrenaline
Yeah.
going.
You
You're
don't.
just
Can I get an adrenaline dump?
you're just raw dogging life,
Yeah.
You're like, I get to go home. They're like, yeah, just one more stop, and
We got to
and
do
then and
this
then
real
you can
quick.
go, yeah. And so, yeah, that was brutal. It was basically just some lady, she was like, "This is gonna hurt really, really bad." And me and my dad, I'm holding his hand, and I'm like, "Really, is it gonna be that bad?" And she takes this thing that's probably 8 inches,
Like a
and
vice type
yeah,
thing.
and like takes it and just wraps it, like wraps and wraps it. So it was like
Oh.
super, and yeah, I almost passed out. I didn't even really even almost pass out during the accident. I mean, obviously, once the blood loss kicked in and stuff,
Yeah.
that's one thing. But yeah, I didn't. I almost passed out on that bed right before I walked out of the place, or rolled out. I
Popped
guess.
out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They, I'm sure that they offer like your physical therapy and things of that nature. But yeah, I think you're pretty much
You
just
got to
on.
go and learn.
Yeah, you're just on your own.
What was your mental state during this time? Because, like, your friends are there for the
Yeah.
Super Bowl and all of that. And, I've learned through this process of doing this show is that a lot of people are there right after a
Yeah.
bad thing happens, and
Mhm.
it's like, oh, we got you, man. But their life gets on. They got to go do other things. They can't always be there for you. And
Yeah.
then there's a time that kind of runs into darkness.
Yeah.
And, oh, man, it's just me and this leg situation.
Yeah.
Where are
Yeah.
you at with that?
When it happened, my whole mindset the entire time was like, just stay positive. Like, it is what it is. You cannot do anything about it, right? We're here. Yes, this is going to suck. Yes, this is going to be really hard. But
Mhm.
like, just if you start, to feel that, you know what I mean, and get depressed or you're sad or why me or whatever, it's just going to make it worse. You know what I mean? And now, did I feel that? Yeah, and usually it's when you're, by yourself, you're laying in bed, and you can't sleep because you got phantom pains and you haven't slept for a week and, or whatever the scenario is. And, yeah, you definitely feel it. You know what I mean? But I always tell people too with like, sports and stuff and in just life in general, you know what I mean? Sports and adversity and whatever and just stuff like that, that happens to you. Like, what are you going to do about it? Taking all of that from playing sports and doing things, and just being able to go, okay, we're going to be all right. We're alive. Like, we will figure it out.
Mhm.
Let's keep going. Yes, does it suck right now? Yes. But it's going to get better
Yeah.
eventually. You know what I mean?
Which
So,
is the way to look at it. I mean,
yeah,
the adverse to that is pure negativity, and that never hauls the
exactly.
mail.
Yep.
Um, I guess walk me through like what you do with your life after that, because
Yeah.
like you're trying to get better and you're trying to get your bearings again.
Yeah.
Um, what do you do? Do you spend a large amount of time trying to get back? Is there like, because
Yeah.
I don't even know the beginning of it. Like, do you go on disability?
Yeah.
Like, how do you survive
Yeah.
in a world where like you can't really work straight
Yeah.
away?
So I think when initially, like I said, I got out 5 days. I didn't get fitted for a prosthetic for like 6 months. So yeah, I was just
Just on
basically,
crutches?
yeah, just crutching around. They wanted to give me a wheelchair. I like refused to be in a wheelchair. But yeah, I just had a wrap on it. You know what I mean? You're cleaning it, making sure it doesn't get infected or whatever. And yeah, I'm just crutching around everywhere. And I'm very, very lucky. I have a solid group of friends that always were there. There was like never a time where like I needed someone to be there that someone didn't come.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
That's awesome.
like when I even side note, when I had woken up, the very first thing I said was like, where's Jordan? You know what I mean? My best friend, he's my brother.
Mm-hmm.
And so my friends were the first ones in the room. You know what I mean? Like they did. I think my parents were the second ones to come and see me. So
You
it
got a
was,
good support system.
yeah, I had a good support system. That's crucial. You know what I mean? But yeah. So 6 months go by. They finally get my leg shrunk down. You have to keep going back and getting it like
Does it always hurt as much as that first time?
every time. At least for me, it did. It
Yeah.
sucked. Yeah. And again, you're just kind of going in there raw dogging it, just like, okay, no adrenaline, no anything. Like, it's going to suck and you still have to do it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so then you start getting fitted for your prosthetic. They kind of do the mold, they get it. And when you get your first prosthetic, that is not the prosthetic that you're going to have even in 6 months, depending on how fast your leg shrinks. Because once you get it and you start, walking around,
Then it's going to shrink.
yeah, it starts to shrink, and you got, it just kind of it changes. So, got fitted, and I remember I got my prosthetic. It was like maybe like 10:30 in the morning or something like that. Went to go grab it, crutched in. I got my prosthetic leg and I have my knee. So it's probably not like this for every, amputee story, but I put it on and the guy was like, "How does it feel?" And I just remember standing up like I normally would stand up, and I just walked down the hallway, and the guy was like, "Oh, you're good, man." And I was like, and that when you go from just crutching around, like
Yeah.
it is depressing, you know what I mean? And it's hard, and you have to just like you're just in this constant battle in your head, you know what I mean? Always, like fighting the urge to just like give up, you know what I mean?
And
Or just
and go into
yeah,
the your own feelings for a second.
exactly. Yeah, and you're just like, you just can't do it, you know what I mean? And it's easier to do that, but
So when you got that leg, that must have just been like
yep.
confidence gets boosted. You feel like, okay, my life isn't over,
Mhm. Yeah, it was great. It was the best feeling probably that I've ever had. I mean, when I got it, I mean, I walked out of the hospital, I hopped in my truck and I went, my buddy was working at the Tecolote golf course and I grabbed a 12 pack, went straight to the golf course and we golfed 18 holes that day. And yeah,
That's awesome.
yeah. And I mean, I was walking and, I mean, it was like nothing had happened.
Mhm.
And obviously, you start walking down a hill, you're getting
They go,
used to
"Whoa,
it.
whoa, whoa."
Yeah, but it kind of when you have your knee, it's muscle memory, you know what I mean? Like, yes, you've learned how to balance and do different things, but
Mhm.
it's pretty straightforward to just like walk for the most part,
Yeah,
So
because someone who doesn't have the knee, it's much more complicated.
yeah, you're walking with your hip and
Yeah,
doing it differently, but
you still had the same motor
yeah,
skills on that going.
yeah.
So does once you have your leg, are you able to get back to work? Do you go to school? What do you decide to do next?
So yeah, I was out of work. I think I was collecting disability for a while. And then just trying to figure out, what I wanted to do. And so I think we had a plan. Um, I think I was working at Home Depot or something like that, doing something like that. And, but we had a plan. We wanted to go to MMI to be mechanics.
And that
And
was in Arizona.
yeah, it was in Arizona.
And
So
when you say we, who's we?
just me and Jordan,
Your
my
bud.
buddy. Yeah. And throughout my whole life, me and him have pretty much done everything together. All of the major things in my life, he has been right there
Mhm.
doing. I mean, we went to MMI together, came back, moved to Oregon together. Our kids are
Mhm.
same age, married, same thing, all that.
Yeah.
Um,
So you guys go to Arizona, and we talked a little bit about
yeah.
your training to work on motorcycles. How long are you guys in Arizona for?
It was about a year, a little bit, maybe over a year. I think he stayed for one more class and then I kind of just got out of there. I hated Arizona.
Just hot
Yeah,
and
super hot. I mean, we were super broke and, you're going to school, working 40 hours a week, just,
mhm.
and still just barely getting by, and it was just not a super fun. And again, right, like this was right after I had lost my leg. So I'm still trying to navigate that.
What's
I
your
was,
what's your deal with because you mentioned phantom pain.
yeah.
I have a good friend who when he was a kid, he had a firework accident
Mhm.
and lost part of his hand,
Yeah.
multiple fingers, and he has phantom pain forever. And
Mhm.
because of that, you're also kind of always associated to a pain medicine.
Mhm.
I'm guessing that they prescribed you pain meds
Yeah.
during this
A
time.
lot of them. Yeah. So we were in pain medication. I don't think it really did much for the phantom pains, even though I probably rationalized it
Yeah.
for that. Um, but yeah, everything was in pain. I mean, and the phantom pains are excruciating because you can't, right after you have it, there's just nothing you can really do. You know what I mean? Like they have medication and stuff that kind of can
Like nerve block
nerve
type thing.
stuff. Yeah. But like it never really like did that for me. Um, but yeah, you're just kind of getting by, you know what I mean? And like even, I think when you have something like that, like the pain medication, it just kind of like comes with it. You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
it's part
It's
of it.
part of it, right?
Mhm.
And I was never that guy even before the accident. You know what I mean? Like I never really took pain medication or
Yeah,
that wasn't really my cup of tea, I guess.
it just is a forced part of the
Exactly.
situation.
Yeah, I was just kind of in it. And then, but when you're in it, you're in it.
Hmm.
And you know what I mean? And it wasn't getting better, like when your leg's shrinking and your I mean, there is pain, your other side, your back, your whatever it is. Um, yeah, you're taking whatever. And it was just like super easy. But when I moved to Arizona, it was a little bit different, you know what I mean? Because I didn't have like a doctor in Arizona. I didn't have like any of this same channels that I had in California.
Hmm.
So, was trying to take less and less and less, you know what I mean? But again, you're still dealing with it. You start taking less, you don't feel great, and you're like,
Take a little
I'm
more.
already taking the hard road. I'm gonna, this way, I'll just take the path of least resistance. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? And that was hard. We're in Arizona too. We got no family out there. Thank God it's close to home. But yeah, it was just the phantom pains and stuff like that. That was the worst part. But I ended up learning a trick from like a military guy where if you put a mirror in between your legs and you look at it, your brain sees your other leg like it's there,
Mm.
and immediately the phantom pain would go away. Like,
Really?
yeah,
That's wild.
yeah. And they would like, I would do like the alphabet like backwards. So I would like look at it in my brain and it would look like my missing leg is doing, A, B, C, D or whatever. It was training your brain to, because that's what's happening is basically your brain is sending a signal down there and saying,
This hurts.
yeah, why am I freaking out right here? I can make a full thing here, but as soon as I get here, there, it's, resistance. But yeah, I mean, like I can even still to this day, I can wiggle my toes and I can feel, it literally feels like my toes are wiggling, but obviously
Wow.
I don't have toes.
It is amazing how that works.
Yeah.
You're listening to the Fit for Radio podcast, brought to you in part by the Stafford Hills Club. If you haven't been here, voted the best health and wellness facility in the Portland area. And when you get here, you'll see why. Not only is it a premier tennis facility, it is so much more. And I think that's one of the misconceptions about this place is that there is a great pool here, a saltwater pool. You also have amazing workout facilities, free weights, machines, classes, TRX. There's so much to do here. And of course, pickleball, outdoor tennis as well. And then a bunch of new amenities on the way here at Stafford Hills, where it is a family, a community, the type of thing you want to be part of. Check them out today at staffordhills.com. Tell them Drew sent you for half off your initiation. So you kind of finish up your time in Arizona. You hate the place. You decide you're going to move home back to San Diego. When you get there, you're doing kind of like different jobs to make ends meet. What are you doing there?
Yeah, just doing odd jobs. I didn't get a job at Harley when I moved back to San Diego immediately. I think it was, working, doing some oil changes for a guy that I knew and stuff like that. But looking actively to find your entry level tech job. And that's how, I mean, I found one in Salem. And so here in Oregon, obviously. But I had friends that lived here in Portland. I had never personally been to Oregon my entire life. So I borrowed my mom's car, got better gas mileage than my truck, took it up, went, hung out for a week, and I just loved it. I just thought it was great. You know what I mean? And so I did an interview at the Salem Harley Davidson then. I don't know what it's called now. Um, but did my interview, got the entry level job. The guy was, they were like, when can you be up? And pretty much we were just like, well, we'll find a place to live and then we'll come up. Um, yeah, so went back home and found a place to live in Silverton, Oregon. Had never been there in my entire life.
Mm-hmm.
All we knew was that it was a highway away from the dealership and the rent was way cheaper than it was
Yeah.
San Diego.
Yeah, especially at that time.
Yeah.
And going from San Diego to there is a bit of a, I wouldn't call it a culture shock. It's definitely a different look outside.
Oh yeah, 100%.
That's for sure. And if you're not already dealing with like the blues,
Yeah.
you're like, oh, let's move to Oregon where people need a sunshine lamp just to hold their image together.
Mhm.
But you get up there, you get to Silverton and you're working there, but you're still riding motorcycles, right?
Yes. Yeah. So still when we were living in Silverton, I still rode, I worked there. You know what I mean? You test ride bikes.
You're in the
Yeah,
culture.
you're in it. Yeah. rain, sleet, snow, didn't matter. You're always doing stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And then I had like my second pretty big run in, pretty big accident, I guess.
So you get in another motorcycle
Yeah.
accident. What
Yep.
happened?
I was just going down. I was on a test ride. I was literally at work. It was a summer, beautiful day. Again, you know what I mean? It always happens on great days. But I was on a test ride and I was going down a Portland road and a lady just blew straight through a stop sign, came pulling in. And I was like kind of going north, but she wanted to go south. And so she pulled across. And as soon as she saw me, she stopped. And so, of course, I'm on a customer's bike and I'm like, doing 35, 40, looking at this car right in front of me. And I was just like, hey, here we go. And
Boom.
just, yeah, boom, hit it, got thrown over. Same thing. I wasn't really even like I mean, I think, I wasn't really wearing like a bunch of, I mean, it was a little
Test
quick
ride.
test ride. Yeah. And
So
you
you
do
didn't
them.
have all the leathers
Yeah.
and everything on.
Yeah. You just, I mean, you're doing them 10 times a day or whatever. You just kind of like, get on your helmet, go. And so, yeah, I hit there. The bike was just hammered. And when I hit, I landed like I was coming in face first. And of course, I had like a full face helmet on. Landed on my hands and just got wadded up.
Did you break your arm?
I fractured my elbows and I messed up my shoulder pretty good. But when I hit, it like grenaded my prosthetic leg. I mean, like it
Like
was
it just exploded it?
for the most part. Yeah, I could still like walk on it,
But it was
it was
compromised.
cracked and shit. Yeah, like all the parts were hammered. The foot had like actual foot portion of it was broken, and I had a hole like I don't know, the size of a mini small little yeah like one of those cutie oranges or something, and I just had like a hole in the only foot that I had.
Wait, in your actual foot?
Yeah, the real one.
Oh,
And I was sitting in Portland Road down there. I mean, it's a busy road, and I'm just like sitting in the middle of the street, and I'm looking at my only foot, like just shaking my head, and I'm just like, what am I doing? And like, you have that moment where you're just like, really, like, is this really what we're doing now? And this lady gets out of the car, and she was just like, just yelling at me, you were going too fast, and I was just like, I don't even.
But she ran a stop sign.
Exactly.
And so she immediately pushed the blame.
Yeah, pretty much. And so I just kind of was like, like hobbling over to the side of the road again, trying to get out of the traffic and just waiting for another ambulance.
Can I just point out that the guy is missing a leg? His other foot has a massive hole, and you come up to lecture?
Yeah, pretty much.
Leave it to the investigators, lady.
Yeah. So I just remember being very, very, very angry with this lady. I was like, just,
Mhm.
I'm going to go sit over here, take a breather. They don't ever give you water when you're like in a major accident like that.
I feel like that should be part of it.
Yeah, well, and like I think it's because you can like aspirate. I think is potentially why. But I knew that like my first accident, that was like, I mean, I was so thirsty. I just remember being so thirsty for water. And this last one, the guy was like, "Does anybody have a bottle of water? Does anybody have water?"
I'm dying of thirst.
Yeah,
Did they have water?
They did, yeah. So
Nice.
got my bottle of water in. But yeah, after that, we were just, went again back in the hospital, and I didn't lose anything, but I did, I didn't have a prosthetic leg. My only foot that I did have, I couldn't put any weight on or do anything. You know what I mean?
So now you've got to sit in a wheelchair.
Yeah. So now you're in bed, you can't do anything, you're locked. You can't move, you know what I mean? And like, even like simple tasks, you got to wake up in the middle of the night to use the bathroom. Like, what do you even do? And same thing with like navigating, having, you're like, okay, what do I do in a shower? Like, do I have to have a chair? Like, how do I get in and get out? And, just like the littlest, tiniest things, even like remembering that you don't have a leg. Cause early on, your brain doesn't even sometimes register that. So
it's so used to you having.
Yeah. So, I mean, I've had it happen multiple times where you wake up in the middle of the night and you get up to go do something. And I didn't even put a leg on, just stand up and fall. It's like the littlest, tiniest things that are the hardest, The
Yeah.
accident stuff, that part was easy compared to life after, trying to figure out what and how to do things.
Oh yeah, and it just probably felt like it just never ended, like
Yeah.
the different obstacles that you're having to overcome. Now, I know in my life that if I had been in a major motorcycle accident, there would be some pushback from loved ones
Yeah.
about my decisions. Now, I will say this first: I am a big supporter of motorcycles
Yeah.
and with riding safely and with the proper precautions. And accidents can happen across anything that we do.
Mhm.
You can be in the safest vehicle. You could be in a Volvo and get piled up.
Yeah.
So, like, it's not a knock on the motorcycle itself, but I do know that if I was in a major accident and lost my leg, my own mother would be like, "So what are
Yeah.
you thinking, dude,
Yeah.
about going back onto one?" What was there pushback? I'm guessing there was the second time,
Yeah.
but how do the people around you, because you're not married yet, so
Yeah.
a wife might just say like, "Nah,"
Mhm. Yeah.
but you're still a free spirit here, a free soul.
At least for the time being.
Yes, in this moment.
Yeah.
So, what were the people around you saying
Yeah.
at this time?
I think I think my I think because of my mentality with everything and the way that, you know, you were just I kind of just did what needed to be done. I was kind of like in a positive, for the most part. Any of the battles that I fought with myself were always like on my own time, you know what I mean?
You
So
weren't telling
yeah, it
anyone.
wasn't like, yeah, I mean, I'm sure me and my buddies have had some, late night convos with a few sodas in, and
Yeah.
things come out that you just need to get out. But I think, mainly, I mean, it was more of conquering, getting back on the horse kind of a thing for me. I didn't want it to like loom over my life and didn't want it to, you
You
know,
wanted to be in control of
yeah.
the narrative.
Yeah, exactly. And mainly just because, like, bad stuff happens everywhere. It doesn't
Mhm.
matter. Like, yes, it happened to me on a motorcycle, but like, it could happen to anybody on anything, like you were saying, you know what I mean? So I think for me, yes, there was pushback. My mom was like, you're an idiot. But at the
Mhm.
same time, I mean, I was kind of just like, I mean, I gotta do it. I gotta do it to say that I did it, just to keep going, and if it happens, it happens. But, I mean, this is what I went to school for. This is my life. Like, it is what it is. And
Well, even if you're a cat, you're running out of lives at
yeah,
this point. So you like, and I'm guessing that once you've lost a leg and then you've injured your other leg, and I'm guessing that gives you a little bit of perspective
yeah.
on that you're kind of riding a fragile line.
Yeah, for sure. 100%. After the second one, I mean, we still did test rides and things like that, and we still rode, but a lot of our riding was on back roads. And, we like, at least we were trying to be a bit more conscious about, the situation and,
Mhm.
just trying to be like as safe as I could possibly be, which was probably not super safe.
Yeah.
But yeah, and I actually didn't work. I mean, I worked at Harley for a year or so, but when we moved here, the pay wasn't great. At least from San Diego to Cal from here,
Yeah.
Um, and so I was trying to find a new job, and I was just like, okay, like I'll go do something else, and like this is fun. I
Make
get
some
it.
money.
Yeah, like I want to make some money. We were just so poor. And I was just like, yeah, this is just so brutal, and but so I ended up leaving Harley, and then I started doing cable and internet. Again, worst job probably I've ever had.
Mhm.
But again, I put myself in a situation where, I'm climbing telephone poles on the 22 in the middle of winter when it's windy and rain. And I just like, what am I doing? Like,
Mhm.
why am I?
Impressive
Yeah,
though that you're
yeah.
able to do it,
Well,
right?
exactly. And I think for me, a big thing with my amputation was still doing all of the stuff that I did before, relearning how to do it all,
But
but
not.
not doing it because
Yes.
like, oh, I can't go skateboard or with my buddies or whatever because I don't have a leg anymore, or
Mhm.
I can't go golf or I can't do this. Like, you know, you can and you can still do it. You
You're
just
gonna
have
golf
to.
today?
Yeah, I'm going to golf today, but you have to learn how to do it. You know what I mean? But yeah,
Yeah,
so
and I think that's such a big part of it
yeah,
is to not, you did a good job of not letting it make you the victim,
Yeah.
where you could easily be like, well, I don't do these things because this happened, or this lady ran a stop sign.
Mhm.
It doesn't serve you, and it really is impressive that you're able to do those things. Because when I first met you, actually, for the first time I saw you, because I didn't even like meet you, you were down the street and you're in pants. I had no idea you had a prosthetic leg.
Yeah.
And then you'd be out like doing stuff, and just, I mean, it wasn't until I saw you in a pair of shorts that I was like, oh.
Yeah. Yeah. Most people don't ever know, like, unless I'm obviously wearing shorts.
Mm-hmm.
But you learn. I mean, people are resilient. I mean, you'd be blown away the stuff that you can do if you just like let yourself do it, you
Mm-hmm.
know?
And you do a good job of that. You change careers. At some point, I guess I'm confused where in the timeline your wife Mariah comes into the story.
Um, so we had been in Oregon for about a year, or maybe like a year and a half or a couple years or something like that. And I hadn't I hadn't talked to her in like a lifetime. When we were like 16 or so, I was, trying to date her. And I mean,
Did she go to your high school?
no, she went
Just
to, yeah, I
from
went to
the area.
Portoma High School and she went to High Tech High, which was like just right down the
Okay,
road
so
from it.
same area.
Yeah, and her whole family, I was really close friends with her cousins. I had known them forever, so I kind of knew who she was. But yeah, I tried to talk to her and date her for a long time when I was young, but I was also just a knucklehead. So
So you had her on your in a perfect world
yeah,
list.
in a perfect world list, yeah, she was there. And so yeah, it was just kind of like lifed, and we had kind of lost touch. And then we were in Oregon, and I just kind of like was sitting on the couch, and I got like a Snapchat, and this was back when that was
Yeah,
probably even a thing. I
and it
mean,
was
I think,
snapping.
yeah, a Snap, and it was her, and she's like, "You changed your phone number," and I was just like, "This is it. Like, we're all right. Like, we got another shot, and so yeah, I was just like, I'm not gonna mess this one up, and yeah, we just talked and talked and talked, and next thing you know, she was moving up to Oregon, and yeah, the rest was history.
So I'm going to ask a very shallow question,
Yeah.
because a lot of girls are shallow. Never an issue with the leg.
No.
It was just fine from the beginning for her.
Yeah, I think she probably had a lot of questions about it and stuff like that, but yeah, I think if
You had the
anything,
right outlook.
yeah, and I think, yeah, it was always been kind of a, chicks dig scars type of a deal. You know what I mean? So,
Yeah,
um, yeah, no problems with it. Very understanding of it, and was really great about all of it. And
that's awesome.
yeah, so it was great, man. Best thing that ever happened to me for sure.
Yeah, so you reconnect, and eventually she moves to Oregon. How do you get her to do that?
Um, I'm just that kind of guy.
Yeah, you just sending poetry
Yeah, just
via
writing
Snapchat.
flowers and poetry. Yeah.
Yeah, just
Um,
as many filters on your snake. He's like, I
yeah.
had a cat head, and you want
Yeah.
to.
It just kind of happened. I mean, she had been in San Diego her whole life, you know what I mean? She was doing real estate, and there was a job up here, and I was up here, and I wasn't going anywhere. I mean, I wasn't going to move back to San Diego. And I was just kind of like, let's try it. Like, worst case scenario, we leave. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, and I liked to move. I like to go different places and do stuff. And I was like, it'll be cool, and she was coming up a lot. I mean, we were long distance for years before she
Okay,
even moved up.
that makes sense.
And I mean, it was like an every month thing. You know what I mean? I think that the longest we ever went was like a couple months, maybe like 3 at the
Which it is
most.
tough, and
Yeah, oh, yeah.
it's such like a stress test
Mhm.
on a relationship, because that stuff can fall apart so quick just based on, I don't want to talk on the phone, or I
Yeah.
don't want to deal with this or
Mhm.
that, and it eventually it just fizzles out, or somebody else comes into the picture who swoops them
Yeah.
away.
100%.
But you were able to navigate those waters and talk her into moving up.
Yeah, talked her into it. It was not easy, like, in general, and obviously, she loves San Diego, rightfully so. It is
Mhm.
beautiful down there. Um, but yeah, I think it was more of just like, yeah, like, let's try it. You know what I mean? And it was kind of, she had, like I said, been coming up a lot. We were doing a bunch of stuff. I was taking her to the coast, Bend, and like, we had like a life up here as well,
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, she moved up and
Did you
yeah.
guys, because you live close to where I live, did you did you guys move into an apartment together? Did you?
We when she moved up originally, we lived in Silverton, and she
Mhm.
was like working in like Hillsboro, like really far.
That is a
Yeah,
ride.
it was a mission. And San Diego girl in her little white Mercedes, never driven in that type of weather, an Oregon winter. And she was driving, like hour plus to get to work
Each
and
way.
each way. Yeah. And, waking up at the crack of dawn and, going to work. And mind you, at the time, my job was like 6 minutes from our house that we were living in Silverton. And it got old pretty quick.
Yeah,
You know what
I
I
could
mean?
see
And,
that.
and we had been together for a while. And so we were like, okay, at this time it was still semi reasonable to buy a house. And we were in a great position to where we could do that. And then yeah, we ended up getting our house over by you guys, and yeah, that we moved. Now I do the driving and she works at from home. So
Hmm. It's funny because like I didn't know you guys so you moved onto my street.
exactly. Yeah.
And like when you first moved there, my first memory of you guys is you bought this dirty old RV and parked it in the street.
Yeah.
It's a street with no sidewalks,
Yeah,
right? So like
exactly.
it's there and I'm just like, "Oh my god, that thing's never going to move."
Yeah.
And you eventually moved it into the driveway, which it's
Yeah.
still there.
It's still there. Yeah.
It
At least
looks a
there's a
lot
fence over by it.
it looks a lot better in the
Yeah,
driveway.
exactly.
I would be like, something happened if it
Yeah,
wasn't there now."
exactly.
But I didn't talk to you forever, which is a sad deal because once we did hang out, I was like, "Oh my god, this guy is pretty chill."
Yeah.
Um, but you end up getting married.
Mhm.
Did you get married once you lived there?
Yes. Yeah, we were living in at our house in Lako, and we were kind of doing our thing, and we ended up getting I proposed to her in Bend, and she was pregnant with our son at the time. Um and so we waited to do the wedding after, he was a little bit older.
Mhm.
Um but yeah, we ended up getting married in San Diego. But it was all when we were in Lako.
Yeah, and you end up having a great little boy. He's 4
Yep.
year now.
4.
4.
Yep.
Wiley, he's a great kid. He's he's the life of our street.
Yeah.
Um,
Wild one.
but you've also made some other changes to your life recently. Now, we mentioned a little bit about growing up and partying, and
Mhm.
I think with a lot of people who grew up kind of like in the same time that we did, alcohol is just a part of the whole
Yeah.
your story arc.
Yep.
You were on those pain medicine. We didn't really even get into it, but you basically took yourself off of those at
Yeah.
some point and
Mhm.
just kind of cold turkeyed that,
Yeah, pretty much, man. I mean, I was
which is
on
rarely happens.
yeah. I think I was
Just
on
wean it down, or what did you do?
yeah, I think I tried to wean it down, and I think for me, it's me. I'm like a kind of like you just got to jump off the edge, kind of a guy. You know what I mean? Because
Mhm.
if I have like something to kind of like keep myself in, some like half
Then you'll
in, half
stay
out,
in.
then I'll stay in. But
Mhm.
I was taking pain medication for 10 years. You know
Yeah,
what I mean? And a lot of them.
it's a long
Yeah,
ride.
it was a long ride, and I just knew it wasn't sustainable. You know what I mean? And I just found myself like doing things where I'm like, planning my life around stuff, and you're like, oh, well, I can't go do this because I have a doctor's
Yeah,
appointment
I've
this
got a
night.
script refill, and then I
Exactly.
won't be able to have
Yeah.
my stuff. And
Yeah. And I'm just like, what am I doing? You know what I
Mhm.
mean? And, it was, you find yourself where you go to your doctor and all of a sudden you need to come in for, drug tests and pill counts. And I'm like, this is
Yeah,
not,
it makes you feel
it makes you
weird.
feel weird. Yeah. And so, yeah, I pretty much was just like, this is the last script. And that was that. And just kind of went down that road. And yeah, I think, it's really easy nowadays. There's a lot of things that you can use for a crutch. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And
Mhm.
we partied a lot growing up and we did a lot of stuff. So there was always something, you know what I mean, that
Yeah.
you could do. But yeah, it was just kind of, what do you do, man? You just got to get off the horse sometimes.
It's true. The Fit for Radio podcast is brought to you in part by Motorsport Hillsboro. And if you haven't seen the gas prices, I don't know where you've been, but you want to be out on the road and moving and grooving without hitting up too much of that emptying of your pockets over gas mileage? Well, a gas electric bike is exactly what you need. At Motorsport Hillsboro, right now, up to 60% off. You're going to get one heck of a deal down at Motorsport Hillsboro, and they'll take care of you for that and any of your other off-road needs. So you can check them out right now at motorsporthillsboro.com. And of course, when you get in there, it's borderline a museum as well. You'll see so much stuff from moto and from BMX biking and so much more. There's a lot of heritage right there on the showroom floor at Motorsport Hillsboro. You know, there's something to be said for that too. It's like when somebody has an active prescription and that it just will be filled forever if they want it.
Yeah.
It's different than the person who ran out, you know, and now that they find themselves in a different kind of panic because they didn't wean it down or do whatever. Because I really think, and this goes for anyone who's actively dealing with this stuff. I had a lot of friends. I've lost a lot of friends to these types of things. And I've also watched the successes and the failures of getting off of it. And the wean down is the way.
Oh, yeah. 100%.
Well, they still have it. I know you're just not you, but like the person, the addict in their mind is like, well, I'll deal with it at the end.
Exactly.
That's a bad idea.
Yeah, 100%.
Walk down the ramp. Don't jump off the cliff.
Yeah,
and
for sure.
That type of stuff makes it easier for people. I think we found a lot of people who have gone to these other products, these gas station products that they find out they're more addicted to that than they are the script. So I think it's impressive that you're able to now sit here and not be associated to it to where it controls your life.
Yeah, exactly. 100%.
You know, because when I was talking to you about something, I forget what it was, but you were hurt or something was going on. And I was like, well, you know, would you think about taking pain medication? You're like, no.
Yeah.
You know, just not doing it because you've seen what you have to go through to get back from it. And that's the key.
Yeah.
And from keeping you from having to do it again. But, you know, recently you've made another life change, one that's going to keep you healthy and happy long term and get to see your son Wiley grow up and probably keep your wife happy too, is you gave up alcohol entirely.
Yep. Quit drinking, man. It's almost been, I mean, it's 7 or 8 months or something like that.
And that's a big deal. I mean, 8 months after, you know, having a career of drinking.
Yeah, pretty much.
Because that's a tough thing to do. You know, most of us have always had it like somewhat in our lives one way or another. And, you know, the younger generation is not drinking.
Yeah.
So like where there's a will, there's a way, but it's kind of like a behavior where you're used to it. You know, like you get done from work, this time happens. Then I have my drink, which is my reward for all the hard work that I've done and all of that. So, but you treated this a lot like you did the pharmaceuticals where you gave yourself like an end date, which I'm a little disappointed because not because you don't drink. I'm very, very proud of you that you don't drink, but you know, like your final day, you just like went hard and then like you were supposed to come over to our house for like a barbecue.
Yeah.
You just passed out and that was the end.
That was it.
And you never drank again, which I am proud of you because, you know, that situation itself probably screams that maybe we should stop.
Yeah, exactly.
Like I'm going all in to where
all in.
I can't even get up. Actually, your friend answered the phone. He's like, hello. I'm like, yeah, where's Ridge? He's like, he's sleeping. I'm like, it's 2:30 in the afternoon. But you got the job done and you finished strong and then you just straight up cut it out.
Yeah.
Now, you were able to get off of the other stuff. Did you deal with any physical ailment or anything with this?
Yeah, it was honestly a lot more brutal. And I like to tell, I mean, I tell people this, you know, you don't have to like be hammering a bottle of whiskey a day or, you know, drinking all day long, you know, having shots and stuff to like know that you potentially have like, you're drinking for the wrong reasons. You know what I mean? And it's one thing to like have some drinks and fun. Like, I wish I could do that. You know what I mean? And like for years and years and years, yes, you know, I have, you know what I mean? It wasn't like I'm waking up drinking every day and drunk all the time.
Morning.
Yeah. Like belligerent all of the time. But I just found myself, and I think it was probably like just a collective amount of a lot of things, right? You know, everybody, your, mental stuff, your years of, suppressing trauma or whatever that they want to tell you, you know what I mean? But it's really easy to use alcohol as a crutch, you know what I mean? And same like you were saying, right? It's just another thing. You get home from work, you have some beers, right? It's Saturday, 12 o'clock, you're mowing the lawn, you have some drinks, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
Um, but I just found myself, doing it a lot for the wrong reasons mainly, you know what I mean? And I just didn't want my kid or my wife. I just didn't want to be that guy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I just knew that it was a bad look. Um, I wasn't very happy. You know what I mean? Like it wasn't making anything better doing it. It wasn't
Yeah.
helping me. It wasn't doing any of that. And I just knew if I just kept doing it, I mean, it was a slippery slope at that point.
Just going to keep becoming
Yeah.
more of an issue.
Yep.
And looking at you though, like your complexion looks
Yeah.
good. You're not like flushed. There's
Yeah.
like you look healthy,
For sure.
and I'm very proud of you. And it's an inspiration to me and to others that you don't have to have a substance
Yeah.
to necessarily have a good time or to be able to function. And like we still hang
Yeah.
out in the street and our kids run around and people aren't like, who's the square?
Yeah.
You know,
Exactly.
and I think, well, I know this that I have multiple friends. My friends, a lot of them partied hard,
Yeah.
and a lot of them they either died or they had to quit.
Exactly.
And so sadly, a lot of them died from the pharmaceutical world, but then the alcohol problems,
Yeah.
they had to quit too in order to save their marriages, their careers, their relationship with their kids. But I have one buddy who's like, my biggest problem was I was known as the partier.
Yeah.
So that was my identity. So now I'm showing up and I don't know who I am. Like,
Yeah.
and I don't know what to say or what to do because I always had this social lubricant.
Yeah.
And everyone was like, I'm the party boy without that title.
Yeah. For
And
sure.
how do I go
100%.
back from that? Fast forward, it's been years and no one thinks about him like that
Exactly.
because you write your own story
Mhm.
and it's a what have you done for me or to me lately?
Yeah.
And you can change that narrative. And I think you're doing a very good job of that. You've got a good track record going. And I always say, like, some people they need to take a break. Some people need to quit forever. And you don't really know until you're down the road.
Yeah.
But for now, you look like you're handling it well and that you're happy and healthy.
Yeah. Having a good time, man. But yeah, that even like what you were saying, like figuring out who you are, without anything, it's a eye-opening experience.
Mhm.
It's a very like, what do you do with your hands type of a deal,
Yeah.
kind of.
But it's gonna be nice because
Yeah, it's great.
you're not waking up
Yeah,
hungover
exactly.
and all of that stuff,
Yep.
right?
Yeah, oh, yeah, 100%. I feel a lot better just in general. Like my mental, I mean, just,
Mhm.
you know, when you have kids, there's not necessarily a manual to tell you like how to do it, and you get married and you're working a job or you're just life is hard, man. Life is hard. It just is what it is, you know what I mean? And so, you try to find the little joys of whatever, whether, that's having some beers, going golfing, doing whatever. Um, but yeah, for me, it was just kind of like I I didn't know how else to live.
Mm.
I didn't know what else to do, so I just kept doing it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm sure they miss you down at the Plaid Panther.
Yeah.
Where I mean, because you were very good at like getting to a car would pull up and I'm like, what? Who is this stranger?
Yeah.
Just some DoorDash out there with a 6-pack of cold
Yep.
drinks. I mean,
100%.
you were very good at it. I mean,
Yeah.
and the mini mart is a block and a half away, but
Yeah.
still very impressive
Yeah, they loved me down there.
that you could do that. But like I said, I'm going to continue to use that as motivation
Yeah.
for myself, and I think others should as well. That you don't necessarily have to go cold turkey, especially if you don't have an issue.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
you could also just explore how many you're having, how
Yeah.
often you're having that many, and most of us could turn the dial back a little bit. I'm just stoked that you decided to make the decision before somebody else made it for you.
Well, exactly. Yeah. And I have a bunch of friends that are sober, you know what I mean? I didn't do it
Mhm.
alone. Again, right? Like having people behind you
Yeah, that it can be done.
that can be done, you know what I mean? Like, and yeah, I mean, it sucked. Like, there's no easy way about it. It all sucked. Getting off of everything sucked. I mean, it
Yeah.
wasn't fun. You know what I mean? If it was easy to do, everybody
Everyone
would
would
do
be
it.
fine.
Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, it was tough, man, navigating life, just when things get hard or whatever, like, you start feeling a certain way, you don't have anything. You're just like,
What do I
just,
do
yeah,
now?
what do I do now? You know what I mean?
So
But
much
you
of it
get
is
used to it.
staying busy and
Exactly.
doing things like, you know, planning to go golfing.
Yeah,
I mean, that's
exactly.
hours worth of like the mental, your mind's in a different place
Yeah.
while you're golfing,
Mhm.
especially if it's going bad. You can really, you got plenty to think about.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
just really think that's so much of it because boredom is a dangerous thing.
Mhm.
And so it's nice to have a family and to have a kid. And
Yeah.
your son Wiley does not give you much time for boredom.
No.
He's on the move. But this is this is good stuff. Now, what do you got? What are you planning next? I mean, you're working, you're a family guy. Now that you don't have the alcohol and stuff, like
Yeah.
slowing down your day to day, are you
Yeah.
feeling motivated to?
I don't know yet, man. I'm taking everything baby steps. You know what I mean? I would like to work out, period. I have always hated working out. It's like
Hmm.
literally been the last thing I've ever wanted to do. But, a lot of times in my life, I just kind of like have to tell myself to do it. And it takes a minute for me to tell myself, like, just get up and do
Yeah.
it. But I would like to start working. I feel a lot healthier, but I would like to work on my health and longevity.
Well.
I'm really starting to feel it, you know what I mean, in general with my
Hmm.
leg, and every job I've ever had has been semi-manual labor for the most part.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I'm really starting to feel, and I just don't want, you have a kid, all the things your dad did with you growing up or whatever,
Hmm.
I
You want to
want
be
him.
involved.
Yeah, I want him to be able to have all that and, not be like, well, like my dad didn't go because, whatever the
Yeah.
situation may be.
Well, one thing that I can say for sure is you've done tougher things.
Yo, exactly.
And it's
Yeah,
really, and working out is one of those things where the hardest part is showing up.
exactly.
Um, but I do, and we'll have to get you over here to Stafford Hills and
Yeah.
you can test out the facilities and we could do a little workout together. And then I have my COVID gym across the street from
Yeah.
you. And it'd be a motivation for me to get the girls' stuff cleaned up in there. Maybe we'll do a little
We do it
weekend
together.
warrior
Yeah.
behavior as well.
Yeah.
But thank you so much for coming in, spending your time. I know you work hard, so we work this in on your time off, and that's not lost on me. So thank you so much, Ridge Deakman,
Yeah, I
for
appreciate it, man.
sitting down.
Thanks for having me.
You got it, brother. We are at the Stafford Hills Club, and we are always here where work meets play, saltwater pool, elite tennis facility, but don't get it twisted. It's so much more than that. Sign up today at staffordhills.com. Tell them Drew sent you. You get half off your initiation.